Okay, welcome back to our video discussion. We are now in the lesson 5 for the unit 2, and lesson 5 is all about market integration. So in this topic, ano ba yung pag-uusapan natin? Market integration is all about the integration of markets in a different part of the world. Not literally nagkakaroon ng merging or nagsasama-sama ang mga market, but when we say market integration, it's all about the prices having related relations among different markets in the country. So, before we start, let me share you my our lesson objectives for this lesson. Okay, lesson objectives. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to distinguish the concept of market integration. Number two, narrate a short history of global market integration in the 20th century. Number three is articulate the relationship of global corporations in the emergence of market integration. Okay, let's start our lesson 5, the market integration. Introductory statement. When we study society or social institution, one of the biggest impacts of studying it on the societies and its economy. We might think economy as the numbers of unemployed, gross domestic product, or whatever the stock market is doing today. Or, in other words, when we say economy, nandiyan yung mga usapin sa pagkakaroon ng unemployment, employment, the GDP, the GNPs, stocks sa markets, prices, commodities, yan. But while we often talk about it in numerical terms, the economy is composed of people. Hindi naman ang economy is all about numbers, but economy is actually is composed of people or group of people. It is an institution that organizes all the productions, consumptions, and trades of goods in society. Dapat ganun natin tinitingnan yung economics. Hindi lang siya for numerical values or hindi lang natin maiintindihan ang economy through numbers, but it also the people who controls or kung sino man yung nagpapagilaw ng ekonomiya ng isang bansa. To fully understand our lesson for today, let us discuss what is market integration all about. Okay. Market integration. Under globalization, the global economy's operation is shaped and influenced by governments, global or multinational corporations, and global institutions that very same sectors that laid the foundations of contemporary market integration. As we can see, pag sinabi nating market, hindi yan yung palengke or yung literally palengke na nabili ka ng mga kailangan mo or ng mga necessities na kailang or necessities na ginagamit mo araw-araw. But market, when you say market, don't get me wrong or wag kayong magkakaroon ng misconception because market, pwede, pwede nating tawaging market yung simpleng agreement between the consumers and the producers. Market ang tawag doon. Hindi siya literally yung market na place na doon ka bibili. But when we say market, it is the relationship or the agreement between the producers and the consumers and vice versa. In that sense, tinatawag nating market yon, market. Hindi ibig sabihin pag sabi nating market, yung pamilihan, hindi po siya yung ganong literal na bagay. Tinatawag nating market yun as pamilya. But in this topic or in our discussion, when we say market, that is the relationship between the the producers and the consumers. Kahit wala ka sa isang lugar na pamilihan, yung relationship yun, yung agreement yun, that makes a market already. So, what is market integration? Market integration occurs when prices among different location or related goods follow similar patterns over a long period of time. Group of prices often move proportionally to each other, and when this relation is very clear among different markets, it is said that the markets are integrated. As we can see, we have a different multinational corporations around the world, transnational corporations. And when these corporations follow a certain trade in pricing, in production, over a long period of time, we can say that there is market integration. Kasi magkakaparehas lang eh. Nandun yung similarity between sa mga economic activities nitong multi-corporations to, knowing that these corporations have different investment in different countries. Pag nagkasabay-sabay at nagkatulad-tulad yung kanilang economic activities, masasabi natin merong market integration. And market integration is one of the factors that we have to consider when talking about globalization. Okay, next. So again, we are here in the historical background of market integration, just like what we have discussed earlier before the history of global economy. But this time, we have to study naman yung history ng market integration. Paano pa nagkaroon ng market integration? Paano nagkaroon ng integration yung mga markets or dito sa buong mundo? Saan ba talaga nagsimula? Okay? Since our course is all about contemporary world, mahalaga ring pag-aralan yung history. Kasi pag hindi natin pinag-aralan yung history, hindi natin maintindihan why certain things happen now. Sabi nga nila, you can understand the present if you don't understand the past. And sa panahon ngayon, history repeat itself lang talaga. Kasi makikita mo naman, lahat ng nangyayari ngayon, konektado noong nakaraan. Kasi lahat ng nangyayari ngayon, maipapaliwanag mo through the history. Okay? Ganyan kahalaga yung history. So, let's move on. Okay. Agricultural revolution during 10,000 BC. People learned how to domesticate plants and animals. They realized that it was much more productive than hunter-gathered society. This became the new agricultural economy. Noong unang panahon, especially when we have our ancestors, ang una talaga nilang, or the basic things for them to able to survive is the agriculture. Andiyan lahat yon. Yan yung unang ginawa ng mga tao. So, totoo naman, wala pa naman before ng mga buildings agad-agad. All we have before is lands, crops, mga pananim. So, with that resources, they have developed this agricultural economy until such time nagkaroon ng agricultural revolution. Until now, makikita pa rin naman natin yung kahalagahan ng agrikultura, lalo-lalo na sa bansa nating Pilipinas. Agrikultura ang sumasalbag sa atin sa panahon ng pandemya. Without agriculture, wala tayong kakainin, walang mabubuhay. That's why we have to value the hard work of the farmers. We cannot say that they are hindi nila kailangan ng ganitong kalaking trainings, subsidies, or without them, magugutom ang buong mundo. Kaya dapat pahalagahan natin yung hard work or efforts sa mga farmers, especially they are facing now different problems when it comes to yung palitan ba ng rice nila or yun ng palay. Sa panahon ngayon, sobrang baba na ng palay na binabayad sila. Imagine that. Okay? Farming helped societies build surplus, meaning that everyone had to spend their time producing food. Yes, because kapag maraming sobra talaga, surplus means sobra. Hindi na sila mag-spend another time para mag-produce. Kasi kapag nagtanim ka at maraming naani mo, yes, mas malilesen yung time mo para mag-produce pa ng mas maraming foods. So, this in turn led to major development like permanent settlements, trade networks, or population growth. So, connected pa rin naman to do sa historical foundation ng global economies. At we say that when people learn how to tilt lands, excavate different lands for their settlements, after nun, nung nagkaroon na sila ng maraming ani, nandun nagsimula yung trade. What we say about trade, trade is the palitan ng, or barter trade, palitan ng produkto sa produkto. And after that, nagkaroon na rin ng population growth. Dumami na rin yung tao during that time. So, after that, marami pa rin nangyari during that agricultural revolutions. But, at the same time, naisip ng mga tao na agriculture itself cannot provide all their needs. That's why nagkaroon sila ng mga iba't ibang inventions, nagkaroon sila ng mga iba't ideas hanggang sa makapunta na sila sa sunod na era. At ano ang era na yon? That is the Industrial Revolution. So, before, nakarinig na rin kayo ng Industrial Revolution kung saan nagkaroon ng maraming advancement, that of opportunities sa mga at nangailangan dito ng sobrang daming manpower. Kasi machinery, sila yung mga manpower, sila yung at the modern time sila yung kinoconsider as machines. So, let's discuss what is an industrial revolution. With the rise of industries came new economic tools like steam engines, manufacturing, and mass production. When we say mass productions, yan yung maramihang production. Sa maramihang production, anong kailangan mo? Siyempre, manpower. Maraming tao din ang kailangan mo for you to able to produce a numerous number of products. Factories pop up and change how work function instead of working at home, where people work for their family by making things from start to finish. They began working as wage laborers and then becoming more specialized in their skills. As we can see, diyan na dumami yung mga factories, mga industries na nangangailangan ng pagkarami-raming tao in able to make different products from start to finish. Nandiyan naman, nagkaroon na ng mga manufacturers, incorporations, mga pabrika, nandiyan na lahat yan. And alam naman natin pag sa ganyang sector ng economy, nangangailangan yan ng maraming manpower. So, overall, productivity went up, standards of living rose, and people have access to a wider variety of goods due to mass productions. Like I've said before, agricultural sector itself cannot provide all the needs of the people during that time. So they start to invent, to innovate until such time nagkaroon ng industrial revolution. However, meron din ng bad side itong industrial revolution. In every economic revolutions, nagkakaroon talaga ng economic casualties. The workers in the factories, who were mainly poor women and children, work in dangerous conditions for low wages. So imagine that, women and children. That is an abuse. Nagkaroon din ng maraming child abuse kasi kahit mga bata pinagtatrabaho. Kahit in a simple factories, kahit bata pinapagtrabaho, especially women. Andiyan yung maraming na-aksidente kasi sila yung nagma-manufacture sila yung from start to finish sila yung gumagawa. Tapos minsan may sa process na paggawa ng may na-aksidente, may nasusugatan, ganyan yung story niyan. So I recommend you to study more about industrial revolutions for you to able to understand. Kasi nasa history namin yan yung industrial revolution. So, kung may time kayo, pwede nyo namang aralin. But, so much for that. We are going to focus here na lang sa ating discussion. So, as a result, 19th century industrialists were known as the rubber barons. With more productivity came greater wealth, but also greater economic inequality. Why? Bakit nagkaroon ng economic inequality during the Industrial Revolution? Kasi during that time, nagkaroon ng social class. When we say social class, may social class order in a society from higher class to lower class. During that time, the higher class was known as the bourgeoisie. They are the owner of the productions, while the lower class or the laborers are known as proletariat. Yan yung dating social class during industrial revolutions, especially in the uh, in the area of Europe or sa bansang Europa. In the late 19th century, labor unions began to form. Ayan, nagsisimula na nagkakaroon na ng mga unions or organizations ng mga businesses. These organizations of workers sought to improve wages and working conditions through collective actions, strikes, and negotiations. In other words, nabuo itong mga labor unions na ito to safeguard the rights and privileges, and especially for para hindi rin ma-risk yung health and safety ng mga workers during that time. Yun naman po yung functions ng labor unions during that time. So, during Industrial Revolution, meron ding two competing concepts two competing economic models during the Industrial Revolution. One of that is capitalism. So, before I also discuss what is capitalism. Capitalism is all about free or privatization, pagkakaroon ng ownership, private ownership. Capitalism is a system in which all natural resources are and means of production are privately owned. Yan. Dapat daw privately owned. Yun. Privatization ng mga resources. It emphasizes profits, maximization, and competition as the main drives of efficiency. This means that when one owns a business, he needs to outperform his competitors if he is going to succeed. So, ano yung labanan ng mga businesses? Competitions. He is incentivized to be more efficient by improving the quality of one's product and reducing its prices. Another model naman is socialism. Socialism is a system where the means of productions are under collective ownership. So, hindi lang isa ang nag-own ng production but collective ownership. So, maraming nagmamay-ari. It rejects capitalism's private property and hands-up approaches because of property is owned by the government that will be allocated to all citizens. So, it is more democratic or more fair for everyone because the government itself is the one who manage the natural resources to be allocated to all citizens. Unlike the capitalism, it's privately owned by one entity. Socialism emphasizes collective goals, expecting everyone to work for the common good and placing a higher value on meeting everyone's basic needs than on individual profits. In that essence, we can see with this statement, we can clearly see the difference between capitalism and socialism. And during that industrial revolution, yan yung naglalaban na economic models eh. So, may capitalism and may socialism. So, look at that. When you are living in that era where the government and the private entities are competing in different in different economic activities. Kasi when you say capitalism is a privatization or private ownership, while socialism, it is the government itself. It's the one who manage the resources and allocate it to all citizens. So, what they think is more efficient and more fair or humane. Okay, that's just a part of the industrial revolution. So, after that, industrial revolutions, mas marami pang nangyaring mga bagay para magkaroon ng integration ng mga markets. And last of the era of market integration, or last stage, or the current stage of market integration is the information revolution in 21st century. We are living where we are living with. Ito na yung era na kung saan nabubuhay na tayo. So, ours is the time of information revolution. Technology has reduced the role of human labor and shifted it from manufacturing-based economy to one that is based on service work and the production of ideas rather than goods. So, today, hindi na tayo on the manufacture. Nakafocus yung industry natin not only to the industry but also to the services, or we are in a service oriented economy, and hindi na laging goods ang ating pinoproduce but also ideas. Computers and technologies are beginning to replace many jobs because of automation or outsourcing jobs offshore. As we can see, konti na lang kapag may mga computers and technologies, napapalitan na nito nire-replace na nito yung manpower kasi the computer and technology itself can do the work of a certain manpowers, yung job nila kaya isang pindot lang sa computer, isang codes lang, isang system, kayang-kayang gawin yan ng computer without the help of of laborers kasi meron itong system automation. We also see the decline in union membership. Most unions are for public sector jobs. So, nagkakaroon man ng mga labor unions, but it's for public jobs, not for private jobs. So, marami na ngayon yung mga samahan na nagpo-promote ng rights and privileges ng mga public workers. Nandiyan yung mga labor unions ng mga teachers, ng mga engineers, ng mga technologies, electrical technologies. Yes, it's very prevailing during our time. So, the service industry includes every job such as administrative assistants, nurses, teachers, and lawyers. As we can see, they're service-oriented work. Nagbibigay sila ng serbisyo. Sociologists have a way of distinguishing between types of job, which is based more on the social status and compensation that come with them. These are the primary labor market and the secondary labor market. The primary labor market includes jobs that provide many benefits to workers like high incomes, job security, health insurance, and retirement packages. So, ganyan na talaga yung mga trabaho ngayon. Unlike before, wala pa tayong mga insurance, kung ano na yung income mo, ganyan talaga, wala pang pag-improve or pagtaas ng sweldo. But now, look at the salary grade of different professions around the world. Hanggang SG50 na ata. SG50, so, nasa mga 300,000 per year na ang sinasweldo. So, that is our world today, kung paano ba yung mga trabaho, paano ba yung market gumagana today. Another one is, those high jobs or high skill jobs are what we consider the white collar profession. An example of that is doctors, accountants, and engineers. On the other hand, secondary labor market jobs, also known as blue collar jobs, provides fewer benefits and include lower skills jobs and lower level service sector jobs. And ang example po ng mga blue collar jobs or the secondary labor market jobs is yung mga farmers, carpenters, and po sila yung hindi kailangan ng ganong kataas sa skills. And syempre, mababa rin yung benefits na nakukuha nila. Unlike do sa mga high skilled jobs na katulad ng doctors, accountants, and engineers, marami silang benefits na nakukuha. So, ganyan po tumatakbo yung ating ekonomiya sa kasalukuyan, yung ating market. So, with that, let's have a summary of the historical background of market integrations from agriculture or agricultural revolutions. Nagkaroon after ng agricultural revolutions with having formal settlements, nagkaroon naman ng industrial revolution where there are lots of factories, different jobs, nagkaroon ng mass productions, social class, the proletariat and bourgeoisie, and the two competing models which is the capitalism and socialism. And until such time, dumating naman ang information revolution or the era where we're living with. Yan po. Yan po yung historical background ng market integration. So our next topic is all about global corporations. When we say global corporations, ito yung mga businesses na nag-e-extend ng kanilang business across borders or internationally. So, to fully understand what is globalization all about, let's proceed to our next slide. Sige. Global corporations or the companies that extend beyond their borders of one country are called multinational or transnational corporations, like I've said before. They are also referred as global corporations. The internationally serve as national borders and take advantage of opportunities in different countries to manufacture, distribute, market, sell their products. As we can say that a corporation is global when they extend beyond their borders yung kanilang mga business activities. Nagkakaroon sila ng investment, different branch, different relation in other countries enabled them to manufacture, magkaroon ng market relations, and to sell their products, especially. So some global corporations are ubiquitous, existing or being everywhere, like McDonald's, Coca-Cola, and yet they still market themselves as American companies. Ayan. Maski dito may McDonald's, Coca-Cola, ibig sabihin ng ubiquitous, existing sila kahit saan. May kita mo sila kahit saan. Ang daming branch na yan. Kahit sa panig ng mundo ka pumunta, may kita mo yung Coca-Cola, McDonald's. Others can be surprising like General Electric, which is based in the United States but has more than half of its business and employees working in other countries. So yan, isa ring global corporations yan na sa ibang bansa pa nagtatrabaho yung mga manufacturers nila. So, in that simple sense, maintindihan nyo na kaagad kung anong ibig sabihin ng global corporations. And ano kaya naman ang kahalagahan nito sa globalization? So, the companies that extend beyond the borders of inulit lang. Global market integration cannot be achieved without the growth of global corporations. Right? Kasi without the global corporation who extending their economic activities beyond other countries, walang mangyayaring global market integration kasi kung wala yung corporations na yan, wala ding relationship yung ibang bansa within other when it comes to economic activity. So, ang kahalaga ng global corporations is very important in order to have a market integration. Modern day incorporation can trace their lineage to the era of colonialism, when colonizers exploited colonies as their cheap source of raw materials and oftentimes slaves, labor, or as markets for surplus goods. So, matitrace natin yung pinanggalingan ng mga corporations kahit nung una pang panahon na kung saan may colonialism. When we say colonialism, it's to believe that pwede mong i-conquer ang isang land para i-exploit or pakinabangan yung resources na meron yung bansa na yun. Bold ventures of global corporations into research and development and investment in new products and services have done much to facilitate the growth of trade between countries and consequently the further spread of globalization. So, through global corporations, nagkaroon ng global market integration. Doon na rin nagkaroon or lumalawak or nag-spread yung globalization around different countries in the world. Yan. Kasi nagkakaroon ng interconnection, interdependencies among nations, and that is one of the facets of globalization. So, with the widening control of global corporations over the world's wealth and resources, critics understandably point out that there is no need to regulate rather than deregulate these entities. Yes, bakit mo naman i-deregulate ang corporations or global corporations? Sila halos yung nagpapagana ng global economy natin. Yung economy ng bansa. Yan. So, they have to really regulate global corporations because they have lots lots of positive effects, and especially meron din na mga negative effects ito. And we can find out it out later. So, Walden Bellows analysis retains potency to stress that the reluctance of public authorities to regulate the activity of capital in the new global economy is among the culprits behind capitalism's failure to swiftly lift countries from recession. Further, remarking that with corporate-driven market forces unchecked, structural imbalance built up. So, ano yung purpose ng government to regulate global corporations? It is that they believe that capitalism before cannot lift the economy of different nations around the world. Hindi nila kayang, the capitalism itself cannot lift up their respective economies. Kasi maraming mga, kapag sinabi natin capitalism, di ba, private ownership, marami talagang mangyayaring abuses dyan. Lalo na privately owned siya. So, nag-take actions ng government or the government of respective countries to regulate global corporations as it really contribute in boosting their economies. On the other hand, international trade and global corporations, along with the internet and more global processes, contribute to globalization because people and corporations bring their own beliefs, traditions, money when they interact with other countries. Yan. That statement is literally a globalization itself. These ideas and capital can then be incorporated in other countries and thus change their cultures and economies of these foreign nations. As we can see, when we say globalization, di lang talaga ekonomiya, even the culture affects the spread of globalization. So here are some of the positive and negative effects of having global corporations. So, let's first discuss the positive effects. Nagkakaroon ng better allocation of resources kasi hindi siya privately owned. They are global corporations na means to allocate the resources to all of the citizens. Lower prices for products because maraming investment, maraming branch sila sa iba't ibang bansa. No need to lift the prices. Kasi pag nangyari yun, mawawalan talaga sila ng customers. More employment worldwide, yes. Kasi mangangailangan kapag sa ibang bansa nag-invest ka, syempre, sino ba magtatrabaho? Alam naman niya sa bansa mo. Syempre, kung sino yung nandun sa bansa na yun. Kasi mag-i-invest, magkakaroon ng franchising, branch, tawag dito, magkakaroon ng maraming branch. So, magkakaroon din ng maraming employment. And higher product output. Since marami kang branch, mas marami din yung production na mangyayari. Magkakaroon ng mass productions. So, in other side, may mga negative views din naman to, or negative effects. First is trade does not promote the self-interested agendas of corporation that give them autonomy and influences politics and the law and allow workers to be exploited. Ayan. Under the global corporations, ma-abuse din yung mga workers natin. So, these are the positive and negative effects of global corporations. Okay. So, before we end our discussion in market integration, let's have a things to be remembered. So, when we say structures of globalization, andyan yung global economy and market integration. Sila yung bumubuo sa globalization. With these two terms, we can define what is globalization, having global economy and market integration. We can check the effectiveness of globalization by looking to the performance of the economy. Such things to understand how global economy work is through the international and financial institutions. Yes, exactly. Under the global economy is market integration, whereas global corporation made it possible to integrate the markets in all other countries. And that makes globalization. Actually, kulang pa yan kasi dalawang lesson pala yung na natatakal natin. Ang structures talaga ng globalization is apat. Is yung global economy, market integration, global interstate system, and global governance. Sila yung bumubuo sa globalization. Diyan umiikot yung globalization. And with these terms, magde-define natin what is globalization. So, please remember these things because this is a very important or essential in understanding globalization. So, with that, I am ending our lesson 5. I hope you learned a lot on the definition of market integration, how it is all about, na hindi ibig sabihin ng market, siya na yung lugar na namimili, but it also the interaction between the producer and consumer. And I hope you clearly understand how market integrations emerge today as we discuss this historical background, especially the importance of global corporations in the spread of globalization. So, okay. I hope you learned a lot. Thanks for the time, for the listening. Thank you. And this is are my references. Ayan yung mga pinagkukuhaan ko ng mga pinagsasabi ko dyan sa presentation ko na to. So, with that, I am ending my video discussion. Thank you.